It's time with the captain, another session. We've been talking about this exchange that takes place. And last week I talked about anger, frustration, and shared a pretty intimate moment of when one of those exchanges took place for me. So I'm going to go back now. I'm 48. Been doing this since 1995, actually since 1993. When I first became an EMT, got hired at the company I work for now in 95, became a paramedic in 97, a lieutenant in 2008, and a captain 2 years ago. So I've been around 27 plus years. Give you a little bit of my credentials. Early in my career, I did not know how to handle. So I'll give you this. I was one of those kids that grew up in church. My parents always wanted us to go to church. We started in a Methodist church, went to a non-denominational church. Unfortunately, my view of what Christianity was prior to my exchanges was that I could do whatever I want on the weeks, as long as Sunday I would go down front and have these moments where you kneel and somebody would pray for you and you'd ask for forgiveness and someone in a tie would tell you that God's forgiven you, and then you would go Monday morning and do whatever. So I kind of grew up with that mentality that as long as you ask for forgiveness on Sundays, everything was good. I soon realized in my teenage years that wasn't. So I had a youth pastor took us to a youth conference where I first met the Holy Spirit. Now, that sounds weird. I understand that as a first responder because we run on people that are spitting out Bible verses that are, right, playing tambourines, waving flags. I get all that. And we see them on the crazy side. They're manic, depressive, whatever's going on there. And I can explain that in a different session. However, that's our view, right? And I have asked God a million times, why is it when we go out to see somebody and they approach us and they're like spitting out Bible verses and telling us God, these crazy things that God has supposedly said, and they are crazy. We all been there. Why is this the first responders' view of Christianity? You know, why is that? And I still haven't got an answer. It's a journey I'm on, and hopefully I'll have an answer. I'll share it with you when I get that answer. But I get all that. So I'm starting to come into getting ready to graduate high school. I have this encounter with the Holy Spirit, so I kind of know what this entity is. There's more to Christianity than just Bible stories, felt things from when you're a little kid, and every Sunday asking for forgiveness. There's more to it. I understood that. The church that we were in, they fired a bunch of people, adult things, right? I was told I was too young to understand at that time, even though I was 16, 17. Became really disenchanted with the whole church experience. I was like, this is dumb. So I'm just telling you the cycles that things go into, right? Just like some of the Bible characters. They're depressed. They're going through junk. Then God elevates them, right? Because the 23rd Psalm wouldn't have been even written if we just went from mountaintop to mountaintop to mountaintop. We got to have these valleys. But what happens is when you understand how the Holy Spirit works, the valleys are a lot shorter, right? And the mountaintops are a lot higher, if that makes any sense. Hopefully that speaks to somebody. But we're going to go through these moments. That's just how life is. I was disenchanted with church. However, I had a praying mom. And my mom prayed my wife right into my life. And I love my wife. I encounter my wife. We get married. We're going to start trying to have a family, but I have the mentality of work hard, play hard. I love all the guys I started with. I still do. I have such utmost respect for those guys. I just wasn't the best example of Christianity because I was so disenchanted with the church at the time. At the church we moved to and started going to, they had a men's group, and this like one-armed farmer guy and a biker dude are standing behind me, and I'm standing there, and they're doing their songs and their praise and worship time, and I'm just standing there. I literally have my fist clenched, and both of them come over to me. I have no idea who these two people are at the time. The one biker guy, long hair guy, puts his arms around me, and he says, "Hey," he says, "we've been noticing you. You seem pretty angry." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I've been in this church circles. My wife wanted to go here. She's met the children's pastors, and she was getting involved. I just was done. I'm like, I've been here before. They fire all these people when crazy stuff like this starts to happen. So why am I here? I'm just angry." And the guy with the one arm, he says, if Jesus were to stand right here, what would you do? And I said, literally, I'd punch him in the face. I'm just so done with the hypocriticalness of the church. And they kind of laughed. And so the biker guy puts his arm around me, which I thought was weird. And he goes, I want you to say something for me. And I said, what? He says, well, you just ask. He says, Jesus, will you blow up my dam? And I'm like, what? And I had this look on my face. Like, if I say this, will you just let me go and I can leave and we can get out of here? And this is going to be awkward, blah, blah, blah. So they kind of chuckled and there's some banter back and forth. So as they keep saying that, they just keep coming back to this. They're like, hey, just ask Jesus to blow up your dam. And I'm like, what dam? They're like, you're awfully angry. So you've bottled stuff up. Now, granted, right, I'm new to my career. I've seen all this stuff already within the first 5 years of my career that I have yet to repeat. I don't know why that was my journey at the time. It just was. So I finally, like 5 or 6 times, I finally said, I'm like, Jesus, will you blow up my dam? And I would stare at these two, and they would just say, okay, how about we say this one with feeling? So I finally said, if I do this, nothing happens. Can I leave? And they were like, yeah, you can. So the last time I said it, I go, Jesus, blow up my dam. It felt like someone had stuck their hand down my throat, grabbed my lower intestines, and bent me in half, and I just fell on the ground. Now, I'm like 25, 26 years old at this time. And I started crying. Again, an encounter with the true Holy Spirit, which I had had when I was 15, 16, right? And then they fired that youth pastor and changed all the church. Is now all that feeling and all that experience was flooding back. Only this time, it felt literally like things were being pulled out of my soul. That's the only way I can describe it. And I could take this big, deep breath. And that led to this freedom I had never felt before, which led to me going on a missions trip in India, which in that trip in India, I literally saw limbs grow, demons come out, diabetes healed, strokes healed. I mean, just amazing things that you can read about in the book of Acts, all because of this one encounter, all because I got rid of this anger. And I was still young. I had everything going for me. New wife, we just bought a house, but I was just so angry at all the other situations that this encounter exchanged all that. Truly exchanged all that. Right? If you go back to what I talked about last week, you fast forward to where I'm 48. Actually, that happened between 45, 46, 47. And that exchange happens again. So what I'm here to tell you is you're going to have these exchanges. I want you to have these exchanges. I want to build a place for us to have, as first responders, to have these exchanges, because this stuff piles into our lives and it destroys our marriages. It destroys us personally. It destroys us spiritually. It destroys our soul. And we get so disenchanted with the world and we get so disenchanted with people that we become this recluse. And I don't want that to happen anymore. I'm tired of seeing my coworkers destroyed by this. So this exchange happens. It totally happens. Mine, I started understanding the power of prayer. And the next 3 sessions, we're going to talk about the power of prayer. But it's phenomenal. And it doesn't have to be some big, cloak and dagger, blah, blah, blah prayer. It's simple. But what it does for us in the battle, when I talk about we're going into our promised land, but our enemies are going to be there, is absolutely phenomenal what it does. Tune in next week. Go home. Be safe. Make a difference.